Hello, friends and family. Chaplain Joe here. Good morning, I guess. Uh, the book of Nehemiah. I've been looking at the book of Nehemiah. Actually, I got the opportunity tonight to share with my Bible study group. A little excited about that. I really got on my heart and spirit that we need to recognize something important in the book of Nehemiah was the attacks of the enemy, how the enemy attacks us. I'm starting to realize and recognize, at least I've spotted in the book of Nehemiah, different levels of attack against the man of God, and I believe we're all going to face these levels of attack. Like I said, there's levels. The first level that I noticed was ridicule and mocking. So an individual first is living without God and then starts to come towards God or starts to move towards God and wants to follow God and is feeling their heart, they're feeling led, they're being drawn to the Lord because they're missing something important in their life, and along comes the enemy, Satan, and he can come in many different forms, in different ways. He can come as your family members, and it comes as mocking. It's the first thing you're probably going to hear is, oh, that stuff's not real, or that stuff doesn't work, or you're a crazy person because you're praying to somebody you can't see. And you know what I'm saying. You heard the stories and the mocking and the finger pointing and the laughing at you. And Nehemiah experienced that when he decided to embrace the vision God had placed on his heart about rebuilding Jerusalem and the city walls, and everybody, and he didn't tell the people that he was going to work with right away, but as soon as, outsiders got wind of it, they immediately came at him, and the people that wanted to follow after him, they immediately came after them as well, and started to mock and point fingers and laugh at them and ridicule. So I would say that would be the first level attack. And then came distraction. The people tried to, the people that were opposed to it tried to distract him, try to lead him away, try to lead him away from his mission, try to lead him away and get his mind somewhere else and get him focused somewhere else so they can get him off track and get him to stop what he's doing, what he was building or what he was trying to do. And that's exactly what happens in our own personal lives when we start to go towards God, or we start to walk towards God. The same thing happened to Nehemiah. Distractions. Life gets in the way, and that's just the enemy of your soul. He doesn't want you to go to God, and he doesn't want you building things for God. He doesn't want you, listening to the Lord. He doesn't want you receiving the blessings that the Lord has in store. Because every time we act out in obedience, we level up in faith and we receive greater blessing. I've said that before, and the enemy doesn't want that for your life. And that's the second level attack. First, it's ridicule. Second is distraction from what I've seen. And then it's been a couple of days since I read the entire book, and I'm going by memory. But then came the trap. Satan will use a trap. He'll use a trap to disqualify you, to make you look like you're not worthy of it, that you're not good enough, that you're not capable, that you're not that you're strong enough. That's what happened to Nehemiah. Finally, the devil couldn't get him with the ridicule. He couldn't get him with distraction. So then he tried to set him up. He tried to put him in a bad position. And get him set up and take him down a really bad road. And the people that were against him, Satan's minions, were out to completely devastate and destroy his life. And I think that's what happens. I think eventually what's going to happen, ridicule doesn't work, and the distraction doesn't work. Then he's going to try to lay a trap for you. He's going to try to lay a trap for you and get you away and to completely disqualify you and ruin you and destroy you. And unfortunately, I see a lot of spiritual leaders caught in that trap, whether it be something to do with lust or greed or something selfishness or affairs, adultery, stuff like that. That's a trap. You're on top of the mountain. You're building for God. You're working for God, and you're a super pastor, right? Like Jimmy Swaggart. Everybody remembers him. He was on fire for the Lord. He building the kingdom. He was saving souls right and left. And I'm sure he was mocked and ridiculed. And I'm sure Satan was doing everything he can to try to distract him, get off course. That didn't work. So what did he do? He came with the adultery and the lust, and he set the trap. and unfortunately he fell for it, and he managed to disqualify and destroy everything God was doing in that man's life and doing through that man's life. And then comes, threat of violence and death, complete annihilation and destruction. They set a trap for Nehemiah. They were going to get him to go to the temple, but because he was so focused on God's work, and he kept his mind so focused on what the task at hand and building the temple, that when he was set up, he knew in his heart that this wasn't of God. He knew in his heart that they were setting him up to take him out, and completely get him out of the game. And not only did Satan go after him, but he went after all the people that he was leading. So he was trying to get the people, to get Nehemiah, even his own people, even the people that were working for God and working for Nehemiah. Satan was trying to use those people to get Nehemiah off track and off course. So if ridicule doesn't work, and then the distraction doesn't work, and then the trap that is set for you to get disqualify you, knock your off, doesn't work, then comes the threats of physical violence, or threats of health crisis or health issue, and all of those difficult things. All of a sudden, out of the blue, you're on top of the mountain with God, and you're doing His work, and you're building, and you're winning souls, and you're just so rock solid. I myself personally experienced when I first started with the Lord 14 years, 32, 42, 52, 20 years ago, I started walking with the Lord. I fell into many of those traps. So I know from personal experience. The ridicule, I've dealt with the ridicule, I've dealt with the traps, I've dealt with the distractions, and I've dealt with complete, threats of not so much physical death, but spiritual death, in a sense where he can trick you and get you to, take the bait and let him get into your head and your heart. And he does that with fear. He does that with worry, and the book of Nehemiah is starting to reveal to me that there's all these different levels the enemy's going to use against you when you start going to God. And unfortunately, a lot of people will stop right at ridicule. They won't go any further with God. They won't go any further. And it's more than building a temple. You got to think about, the story talks about building the temple, but the word also teaches us that we are His temple, right? And we are supposed to build ourselves up for the Lord. And what will He do? He'll put that wall around us and protect us. If we're going towards Him and we're living for Him and we're trying to do His work here on earth. There's so many hurt and lost and broken souls down here on earth, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So if you are a new Christian, you're just starting out in your walk, and somebody's poking fun at you or somebody's calling you names, that's normal. Let them bounce off you. Like I said, if every act of obedience, you keep moving towards God, you keep building the kingdom for God, and you watch what God will do in your life. He'll bring you amazing blessings. But you know what? The attacks are going to come. The attacks came for every single person that God used in a mighty way in the Bible faced all of these attacks. Every single one of them. There's not a single one in the Bible that didn't go through these attacks. Every single one. And this is just Satan. He hates your guts. He hates your guts. He hates God more than anything, and he just wants to destroy you, because God, you're the most wonderful. All of His creations in this universe, on this planet, is you, and you're the apple of His eye, or He calls you a special treasure in His eyes. You're His children. He loves you. So be cautious today, and be like Nehemiah, man. Nehemiah didn't bend, man. He was hit with all the tricks. He was hit with all the traps. He got the mocking, the lying, the distractions, the ridicule. He said that I learned from the word when the final attack came, a threat and violence. He told his people to when you build, you're going to battle. There's no way around it. Building for the kingdom is going to bring a battle in your life. There's no way around that. When you start to walk with God, there's going to be a battle. And Nehemiah told his people to keep a sword in one hand and a plowshare in the other. And just keep building. Don't stop. Don't let anything or anyone get in your way. If God has put something on your heart today to do for Him, to do for the kingdom, to do for other people, You go ahead, move forward, and let people mock, let people ridicule, let the attacks come. Be like Nehemiah. Be steadfast, stay focused on the cross of Christ, keep moving forward, and don't you backpedal or back up. God will get you through it. If God's going to take you to it, He'll take you through it. Be encouraged today. Know if you can change ourselves, we can change the world.